Now, the National Security Council says Nigeria is well secure ahead of Saturday's presidential elections. The council also assures Nigerians that the polls will hold in a safe and conducive atmosphere. Our State House correspondent Adeswa Omoran reports.
President Muhammadu Buhari is taking a closer look at election security ahead of the 2023 general election. This meeting is to ensure that security forces are crossing the T's and dotting the I's. Expected to be the last before the elections, the security meeting comes 5 months after its last session. With barely 48 hours to the presidential and National Assembly elections, the meeting reviewed the readiness of all security agencies and other institutions empowered with the responsibility of keeping the peace during and after the elections.
The position of the president is to the effect that the election is held on the 25th day of February 2023, and Mr. President and the Council, the National Security Council, are happy with the preparations on the ground, and wholehearted arrangements are put in place in that direction.
We must ensure that Nigerians are allowed to come out and exercise their franchise or board the leaders of their choice. And for that, we must create conducive environment or atmosphere for Nigerians to exercise their right. We must also provide protection to INEC materials and officials to do their work. We must ensure that before, during, and after the election, whatever fallback it is, we do not have people who will take the laws into their hands, and if there is any, we should be able to check within the quickest possible means to ensure that it does not snowball into either bigger crisis.
Last week, the police announced that over 400,000 security personnel will be deployed for the elections, with the police playing the lead role. The Inspector General of Police reacts to the presence of soldiers in Lagos and Ogun states ahead of the elections.
These are not operations that are targeted at the election, but it is targeted at stabilizing the situation, especially the one that came up as a result of the current currency swap.
Red zones and troubled spots have been identified across the country by civil society organizations and the security forces. While separatist threats persist in Southeast, ethnic and political tensions also pose a threat to a peaceful, violence-free elections. Saturday's elections will be the 7th since Nigeria's return to democracy. Nigerians will be hoping to build on that record as one of Africa's most stable democracy in the midst of rising coups in the African sub-region. Adesua Omoran, Arise News.
We're now being joined by the Minister of Works and Housing and former Governor of Lagos State, Babatunde Fashola, who is also a senior advocate of Nigeria. Good to see you, and thanks for your time.
Hi, good evening.
Welcome to Newsnight.
Well, let's quickly start off by getting off some legal matters before we get into the politics and looking at your ministry. Quite a number of issues, and some have actually said that you have spoken out against some colleague of yours, some specifically Festus Keyamo, on the issues that Nigerians would want some kind of clarity that you're here. Perhaps let's start off from that.
Why are you suggesting? Why are you running away from who said
well,
so?
just to make it clearer, we had a situation where the Minister of State for Labour and Employment, Festus Keyamo, came out to say that, look...
I understand this question,
yes,
so do you want me to answer?
And you said that the President was not in contempt of the Supreme Court interim injunction.
Do you want me to answer the question?
Absolutely.
So when he started by saying that some have said, it was your sister organization that said so, this day newspaper. So don't run away from it. Now, I don't take responsibility for what the editor decides to cast as a headline. And I think that if anybody read the story, quoting what I said, I never made such a suggestion. First of all, I think my public service record with regards to court orders, rule of law, very clear, so it won't change overnight, not for an election. And I think that it was a very disingenuous attempt by whoever was editing the paper on the day, Because if you go and read the body of the story, first of all, as a habit, I don't talk about court cases if I don't have the facts.
Right.
And I'm not one lawyer. Even when I was doing trial work, I don't give interviews about my cases on TV. You will not find one. So that's my record. I wasn't trained that way. So to now elevate a hypothetical situation that I was talking about, not the facts, a hypothetical that if somebody locked a door in your hand and you went to the court to tell the court to make an order that that person should please open the door. And the court says, okay, we are getting the papers, we're going to adjourn, and you are feeling pain. And that person says, look, I didn't intend to cause this much pain, and tries to open the door. That you are stretching the argument of contempt too far. That was a hypothetical situation. Go and read the report.
Right.
So somebody needed to sell a story, maybe my name sells story, but that's behind me.
So what exactly is your position on that particular issue? Because the same Festus Keyamo actually said that the president meant well, by varying the Supreme Court's ruling. But some people advised the president wrongly. And I'm wondering, are you one of the people that the president...
First of all, I didn't listen to Keyamo's statement, so I can't comment about what he said. I haven't read the court order, so I won't comment about it. I haven't seen what the papers are. All of these things are usually reported in the media. The way I was trained, if you want to know what a court did or did not do, apply for a certified true copy of the proceedings. That's the way I was trained. Read them and then form your own independent opinion of the facts. Even people who claim to report what courts decide, you have found out that you follow their report at your own peril, because many of them, not enough of them, are trained lawyers.
Okay, so help us understand what exactly the Supreme Court meant with that interim injunction, that status quo antebellum should remain. And what is your understanding of the president's response, his February 16th
As I speak here,
yes,
right? I haven't seen the order, so I can't help you understand what the Supreme Court meant from what is reported in the newspapers until I read the motion that was brought before the court, the full text of it, and the order that the Supreme Court made. I won't give an opinion. I'm not trained like that.
Okay, that's fair enough. Let's talk about politics. I mean, the elections are right around the corner. A few days ago, you actually asked INEC to come out with the exact numbers of people who have picked up, their PVCs as against those who have registered. Where was there a need for you to make that point? Do you have doubts in INEC's, transparency, or what, really?
Well, before you start reading motives into my statement, I stand by that statement. I use this platform to reiterate it again, because oftentimes people say, yes, it's true, election is an undertaking of numbers, a game of numbers. That's true. So you will see that INEC as an institution has, over the last few months, provided advocacy, what is going on, how many voters they have registered, number of these they have done, and so on and so forth. But a crucial number is now missing. A crucial number is now missing. We have the number of registered voters. We have an indication of the number of PVCs that were printed to match expectedly the number of people you have registered. But there is a missing number in this game of numbers. How many people have collected PVC? It is a very important number, and INEC must do itself and all of us a world of good by quickly producing those numbers nationally, by the states, by the local governments, and if possible to the polling units, because we all know that voter turnout is never 100%, except in places like some Asian country whose name I need not mention here, where it's a criminal offense not to vote. So the number of registered voters is a larger number against the number of people who have collected their PVC. That one is a subset of registered voters. The number of people who actually go out to vote is a subset of the number of people who have collected PVC. And if you look in the Electoral Act, you will see the significance of the point that I am making. So it is important, and all of the international and local observers who are here should also help INEC do this if they are, with all the support they're providing. It's a very important number.
Because no doubt, I think that will help every political party going beyond yours.
That's why when I raised the issue yesterday, I said I am sure that on this matter, all the political parties will agree. And I have yet to see any political party who says I am not expressing a view favorable to them.
Well, quickly, let's also talk about the campaigns which you had a mega rally in your home state, Lagos State. And some of the key concerns people have been asking is some policy. I go back, but again, it's still about politics, the timing of the cash redesign, perhaps, and you're also overseeing a big campaign office for your party. Is that affecting the conversation you're having with the people as you go into the polls on Saturday?
You know, let me say again that what has happened in the purported exercise of the Central Bank Act, especially Section 20, where it talks about redesigning currencies, it gives powers undoubtedly to to Central Bank to undertake that exercise. My understanding of that provision, because I read it again and again, and what it suggests to me, my interpretation of that section of the law, is that if you choose to redesign denomination A, say the 1,000, the 500, or the 200, every time I produce a 200, you must give me a 200. Every time I produce a 1,000, you must give me 1,000 back until that currency denomination is eventually taken out of circulation.
That makes it a swap.
Yes, that's the word used in the act. So what has been done here has no legal basis. That is my view. On a cold,
central bank is
on a cold and calm interpretation, if the law says that you can only take 2 steps, if you take 4 steps, you have violated the law. Once you are a creature of law. So, as I said, let me be clear again, the Central Bank clearly has powers under Section 23 to reissue, to redesign currency. But that process is a swap. Not to say bring all your money. The law didn't envisage that at all. And to that extent, it is outside the law. And you see, so when I sit down and listen on TV, some people saying it is causing pain, understandably we are all united about the pain and the discomfort it is causing. But some people, some media houses seem to have a vested interest in supporting that exercise. I'm wondering what their investment, even in their partisanship, may be in an investment in illegality.
Yeah, but your principal, Bola Tinubu, the presidential candidate of the APC, when this happened, he actually said that this was really about him to scuttle his chances of winning the election. So the question is, has it in any way affected his campaign?
I'm not there yet. Yeah, I'm first saying that, look, the question we should even be asking ourselves is the authorization to redesign and swap approved by Mr. President, does it include an authorization to mop up money? Does the Central Bank Act? Because it's one thing to have an authorization on the face of the letter of the law and then proceed to do something that is contrarian to law, which is what seemed to have happened.
So how do you think this will be resolved? How should it be resolved?
We will wait for the Supreme Court to determine that.
Okay.
But in terms of election operations, let me also make an important point. I've been involved in not a few elections as candidate, as chief of staff, as minister. And one thing that is missing in our electoral process is volunteering. So I would have expected that over time, as we are making regulations, and I support every undertaking to digitize our economy, to create visibility for transactions, but we must factor in the fact that each of the political parties, if at least the main ones who have a national spread, will have to pay agents in 176,000 plus polling stations. And those must be factored into subsequent election regulations. I would like to see a day where in future, cash or no cash, agents who will be performing a lawful civic duty can be contracted on a one-page simple contract that has been drawn up by any lawyer to say, this is my account number, I'm agent for so. And all of this can be deposited in any banking institution so that remittances can be made without discomfort.
Let me jump in here now. The Buhari administration is coming to an end, and perhaps people will be asking if there are projects yet to be completed. Specifically, the people around the axis of the Benin, Auchi, Okene, or Bajano Road, money has been earmarked, and they are eager to know when work will start.
Okay, so we inherited that project. It was started in last administration in parts, and some of the things people don't understand. At the time they awarded it based on the condition of the road as is. So they wanted to dualize it. In any event, that's not the story. There has not been enough money to do all of the things we want to do. President and our government has been innovative, from Sukuk to PIDF, which is part of his anti-corruption efforts to bring back stolen money taken outside Nigeria to invest it in Nigeria. So those who are questioning our anti-corruption success must look beyond just convictions and all of that. Just last month, he approved recoveries of 114 billion to be put back into this thing. But good news for that axis, it was one of the major 12 axes of constriction during rainy season. Niger State was also around for petrol development, Calabar too. We solved all of those places. Cham, Numan, work is progressing. So NNPC has taken this on board under our tax credit scheme. Just before coming here, there are contractual processes that have to be undertaken. So the agreements just came back. I was preparing to sign them this night when my time ran up, and I had to come back to the studio. So all the papers for the contracts are in. NNPC pays through the FIRS. We don't touch the cash. But there are contractual processes, there are specifications about contract size, scope of works, variation limits, and so on, that have to be tidied up. But answer to your question, work will soon start.
Very, very quickly, before we let you go, there's the housing arm. I've interviewed you a couple of times, and you always question the issue of 17 million housing deficit.
Well, nobody has provided an answer to my question.
Since you took over as housing minister, of course, and works, how much really has improved as far as housing deliverables is concerned for Nigerians?
Well, we have led by example, and I don't recall the last time we had a national housing project where houses are being built in 35 states. So when people ask what has changed, that's change. That is positive. But don't forget that if you want to make anything, you need some control of the materials needed to make it. The biggest component, or one of the big components in building houses, is land. Land is a state matter. So again, there are some governments that are doing housing projects, and that's to be commended because it is really their primary responsibility because of the control they have over a major input. But private sector has kicked in, largely because of some of our policies, and this is where it should go. It's actually, at the end of the day, commodity, whether it is like food, water, but this where private sector should be leading. And what we've seen with my interface with private sector over the years is that there's a lot of them now going on, and you also host some of their adverts now. So the sector is doing well. It is employing people, but there's still scope for improvement, and I keep making this advocacy. I will use this opportunity again. We must not lose focus of the fact that not everybody can own a house, at least not at the same time.
Why not?
People need to rent. You climb on a housing ladder. You can't jump one day and say you're a house owner fresh from school. that people, as their careers are going, they move from renters. We need to protect people in rented occupation, control rent, especially in high urban densities, young people. And those are matters for state governments.
We have to leave it there. Babatunde Fashola, Minister of Works and Housing, it's been a delight having you. Thank you so much for joining us on News Night.
Thank you.